Hey guys, Julian here, and today I am going to be showing you how to make the bass stabs that you hear in a lot of techno tracks. We're going to be making something like this. So yeah, and this project file and all the samples and MIDI and the presets for these 4 bass stabs is available for free right at the top of the description, so definitely make sure to go grab that. If you're a patron on my Patreon, it's available without a download gate. And yeah, let's dive in. So today I'm just going to be talking to you about some techniques I picked up on for making these kinds of stabs. It can be a little bit tough when you're first starting out, but I think it's actually not as hard as it always seems. It's just kind of a little bit of a finesse to get the sound right. So yeah, so the first thing that we have going on here is you can see all 4 of these are made using FM synthesis. So I really recommend using FM synthesis for these, and the reason is these tend to have kind of like a more digital and machine-like sort of sound to them. You know, these aren't just like kind of basic saw wave and square wave type of sounds. These are like a little bit more textured, there's a little bit more detail to them, and FM synthesis is a really easy way to get these kind of more detailed and intricate sort of sounds, because you're essentially just using different waveforms to modulate other ones, and then yeah, you can create very like cool metallic sounds like this pretty easily. And the key here is really just using sine waves. You can see most of these are just sine waves. So yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is going to be, using envelopes the right way with FM synthesis. FM synthesis is all about how you modulate the different volumes of each oscillator, because each oscillator is modulating each different one. So if you play with like a bit of the envelope here, like you can see how this one, for example. See how this has like a pretty short envelope for the volume of oscillator A, and then oscillator B is a little bit shorter. That's how we get this kind of like more plucky thing. It's the same deal with these other ones. Same deal here. You can see first oscillator is set like that, and then second oscillator set like that. So yeah, just learning how to work with the envelopes like this, and really getting a feel for like how to make a plucky sound and how to give a sound that like attack is going to be pretty crucial for this method of making these kinds of different things. And you can see with this last stab here, I've taken it a step further because we have a filter on this. So that's another thing you can do to kind of give it a different feel and a different texture, is putting this through like a bandpass filter or a low pass filter. And then what I've got here is, you can see I've got an envelope on the filter, so that's making it have kind of more of a pluck, just like we did with the volume envelopes. But yeah, so this is a really good method as well, because a lot of times when you're working with the sine waves, like, and I'll give you some tips on how to make those a little bit more exciting, but a lot of times, when you're trying to make like 3 or 4 different stabs in your track like this, and then to have them all just be like sine waves, it can be kind of, easy to make a lot of the same sound. But when you start to bring in filters and stuff, it's a good way to make the sound a little bit more creative and a little bit different like this, and it makes this stab kind of stand out. When you hear that one, you can hear that going on there. And yeah, so the next tip here is going to be playing just with the pitches of the oscillators. So that's another thing with FM synthesis, is that the pitch of each oscillator that you are using to modulate the different other oscillators, that's going to determine kind of how the sound is. Like, I'll show you what I mean, like with this first one. So check out what happens if I put this chorus pitch on the second oscillator up. See how the sound kind of gets more like intense and metallic as you're going up? You can see like the second one is a little bit more crunchy sounding. And that one I have the coarse pitch at 5. So yeah, just playing around with those coarse pitches, like if you're working with operator, or I think usually it's called like the ratio in other FM synthesizers. Just playing around with that is a really great way to change how it sounds as well, though, because it's going to, like, it changes the texture of the sine wave that you're using to modulate your other oscillators. So yeah. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about here is the programming of the notes, because you can see these are all kind of in different, seemingly random places, but then they all fit together. And I want to talk a little bit about how to do that as well. Again, this isn't just about, like, making a sound or programming a synthesizer, but this is about how to use these sounds in a way to really make it work in a track. So if you look at most of these, they're pretty much happening either on 8th notes or 16th notes. Like you can see, that's an 8th note there, there's a 16th note there. If you look at this one, you can see this is on 16th notes, this one's also on 16th notes, and then so is this last one. So this is how you want to program these. Is like, maybe it plays either once every 2 bars or once every 4 bars, or it could maybe even be once every bar. But you can see with these, like, this first stab is once every 2 bars, and then these other 3 are just once every 4 bars. So, because you don't want it to be happening, like, maybe in some cases you might have something like this where it's just playing, like, throughout. But for the most part, the way this is going to happen in your track is it's just going to be really sparse like this. Like, it's just going to be like a little burr, burr, and then you won't hear it for a little bit. So that's usually how I approach programming them, and it's not that hard. Really what I try to do is just kind of get creative with it. Like, maybe just try some different random places, see different things. The one thing you just want to make sure is that none of them are overlapping each other. Like, if you have 2 playing at the same time like this, you can see it's going to sound weird. Like, I just duplicated that to there. Like, you can see, it just kind of, like, peaks the volume and makes it sound weird. It's going to mess up the dynamics of your track. And, yeah, so just have them in different random places, but just make sure that they're not overlapping each other. And, yeah, and then another very important thing with these is the processing. You can see with all 4 of these, I have a bit of different processing on them. Some of them, mostly it's just a bit of reverb and a bit of fattening up with like some saturation or drum bus. You can see this one's got a bit of echo, and then this last one has a bit of reverb. I also have a high pass filter on some of these. So yeah, I usually high pass these. I usually like to cut out the low end. Like this one I did it. Sometimes you don't need to do it. Like I think the first one and the third one here, I didn't need to do it. That's why it isn't on there. I guess the third one has it, but the first one, we didn't really need to. But yeah, definitely making sure, like, if it does have that low end, just, like, cutting it out and making sure that it's not going to get in the way of, like, your kick or anything else in the mix that could have a bunch of low end to it. And then the other processing here is just, like, some simple kind of space stuff. Like I said, either some reverb, like that, or a bit of echo like you hear with this one. You can hear the echo and the reverb are actually pretty important because this is so sparse. It's like, you don't want to just hear it, like, just kind of hitting completely dry. It sounds weird if we do that. Like, if I turn off this echo, it doesn't really feel like it's in the mix. But if we give it some space, you can hear how important that is. And then the thing I try to keep in mind is, like, with this echo, I've given it a ping pong set, or I've given it the ping pong setting, so it is bouncing back and forth from left to right. So I just turned the stereo down a little bit, because with techno, you still need to make sure that it's going to work in mono, since most club systems are in mono. So just turning the, like, stereo width down a little bit is perfect. That does it. And then the saturation on there, you can see that's also on all of these. We've got some kind of saturation, That's just that last step to really make it have, like, the fullness and the power in the track. I'll show you, like, if I turn this off on all 4 of these. Alright, see how it's gonna be like not quite as full? Like you can see, obviously they're a little bit quiet, you know, maybe we could turn them up, but it's like, it just doesn't really have that same level of fatness or fullness in the track as this does. You know, the saturation really helps to like, kind of put it in the right place in the mix. And yeah, so that's how I would go about processing these. I think that's the last really important thing to really make these work. Like you saw, like with the space and the saturation and stuff, you really do need that to give it that last little bit of fullness in the sound. And yeah, so that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything from this video is available right at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.